I was in critical condition during a difficult labor, but my husband transferred all the surgery funds away. Crying, I called relatives and friends to borrow money, finally raising enough to enter the operating room. However, it was too late. Our baby died. After being discharged and returning home, I saw him holding photos, showing them off to his friends. My trip abroad with Amber was amazing. His friends chimed in. Isn't Grace, your wife, about to give birth? Isn't it a bit much to go abroad with Amber right now? Yeah, and you spent all the hospital fees. What if something goes wrong when Grace gives birth? Marcus looked at the photos one by one, saying dismissively, it's just having a baby. What could possibly go wrong? Grace loves me so much. She even jumped into icy water in winter to save me. Even if she's upset, I can just sweet talk her, and she'll be fine. Besides, I promised Amber this trip before I got married. A person should always keep their word. If is understanding, she should support me. I stood outside the door, listening to him ramble, my heart aching as if pierced by a knife, dragging my weakened body. I quietly left. A few days later, Marcus said to me, I promised Amber I'd celebrate her birthday every year. Why don't you cook a few dishes? Make it a grand celebration. I didn't move. Instead, I quietly took out the divorce papers. Let's get a divorce. If you liked Amber so much, why didn't you just marry her back then? Yeah, why did you get involved with Grace? You don't even like her. Marcus's friends asked, one after another. I was about to push the door open and confront them, but hearing those questions, I involuntarily stopped, because I wanted to know the answer too. Marcus said without hesitation, I drove into the river back then. If hadn't saved me, I would have drowned. Everyone knows Grace liked me. Everyone also knows she saved me. If I hadn't married her, I would have become a scumbag, scorned by everyone. My reputation, the family's reputation, and even the family's stocks and businesses, would all be affected. So, I had no choice but to propose to her. Those words seemed to drain all the strength from my body. I leaned against the wall, barely standing. So, the perfect marriage I thought I had was just a lie. So, my love was just a joke. So, Marcus married me out of necessity. Suddenly, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I spun around to find Amber standing behind me. Amber smiled warmly. Grace, why aren't you coming in? Come on in. Then, she took out a key, unlocked the door to my house, and pulled me inside. It was as if this wasn't my home, but hers. Marcus, you really are good to her. You even gave her a key. After I entered, everyone fell silent. Marcus's friends looked particularly embarrassed. It was as if I shouldn't have been there. Amber sat directly beside Marcus and casually put her arm around his. Then, she seemed to realize something belatedly. She said with a look of regret and guilt, oh dear, was I too presumptuous today? Grace, will you mind? I'm so sorry. Before I could speak, Marcus waved his hand. It's fine. Grace is very understanding. Marcus sounded like he was praising me, but his gaze remained fixed on Amber. His eyes were full of tenderness, and his tone was filled with affection. Sitting on the sofa, I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Marcus always praised me for being sensible and understanding. That's why, on my birthday, Marcus suddenly left. It was only because Amber suddenly wanted blueberry, and he rushed off to buy them. The understanding me could only watch over the birthday cake, but until the candles burned out, Marcus never returned. On day, I booked the best restaurant, but Marcus invited Amber along because he was worried she'd be lonely and sad by herself. He even arrived 2 hours late to our wedding. Finally, he and Amber walked in shoulder to shoulder, stepping on the red carpet as if they were the new couple. His praise for my understanding nature felt like a lock placed upon me. I sighed deeply and said to Marcus, I called you many times, but you didn't answer. I sent you a text message, but you didn't reply. Marcus replied with an "oh," saying, I was on a business trip abroad then, left in a hurry, and didn't have time to tell you. I pointed to the photos scattered on the table. Business trip? Marcus hastily gathered the photos. Then, he said dismissively, we happened to meet abroad. You know, I once promised Amber I'd take her on a trip overseas, and this was a good opportunity to fulfill that promise. It's a shame I had to use a business trip for it. It wasn't as enjoyable as I'd hoped, and I feel quite bad about that. I gave a pained smile. A bitter taste rose in my throat, and I couldn't help but cough violently. Marcus frowned. Grace, I've told you before, You're pregnant now, so you should focus on resting. Constantly asking questions and worrying too much isn't good for the baby. I covered my flat stomach, tears streaming down my face. From the moment I walked in until now, Marcus hadn't noticed that I'd had a miscarriage. His gaze had never lingered on me for more than 5 seconds. His friends all stood up and said, "Let rest. We'll head out now." Marcus, still wanting more, said, "No, don't go yet. Grace is fine." He saw his friends out the door, then thought for a moment and turned back to me. "You stay home and rest. Okay? I'll be back after I hang out with them for a bit." Marcus left, leaving me alone in the cold, empty house. I went back to the bedroom and saw the baby clothes I had prepared for the child still laid out on the bed. My heart was in agony, and I buried my face in the bed, sobbing. I lay rigidly on the bed until midnight, unable to sleep. Suddenly, my phone chimed. It was a video message, via WhatsApp, from Amber, in a lively bar. She and Marcus were surrounded in the center. Everyone around them was chanting, "Propose! Propose! Propose!" Marcus knelt on one knee, gazing deeply at Amber. "Marry me." Amber nodded tearfully, and they hugged each other tightly, embracing and kissing passionately. After watching the video, Amber sent me a voice note via WhatsApp. "Grace, don't misunderstand. Marcus and I lost a game of truth or dare, and we were just taking our punishment." I didn't reply and turned off my phone. As dawn broke, Marcus returned, reeking of alcohol. He went to the bathroom to shower, but his phone wasn't locked. I glanced at it. Messages were constantly popping up in his group chat on WhatsApp. That proposal just now. Marcus must have been serious. The way he and Amber looked at each other was so intense. Definitely, if hadn't gotten in the way, Marcus and Amber would have been a couple. Marcus didn't refute these comments. Instead, he said, "I don't know if Grace saving me back then was a heroic act or a staged event, but either way, I'm stuck with her for life. A marriage full of calculations is meaningless." Marcus's words felt like 10,000 arrows piercing my body. I felt a wave of dizziness and collapsed to the floor. Hearing the commotion, Marcus rushed out of the bathroom. "Wife, what's wrong?" he asked, his face filled with concern. I gave a pained smile. "I had a miscarriage." Marcus was stunned for a long time, then sighed. "Your health hasn't been good since that incident where you fell into the water. I warned you before not to push yourself. Even if you can't get pregnant or have children, I won't blame you." Looking at Marcus's sincere face, I couldn't help but ask, "Marcus, do you love me?" Marcus replied without hesitation, "Of course." He helped me up. "I'll take you to the hospital right away." Just then, his phone rang. Amber's voice came through. "Marcus, I drank too much just now, and my head hurts terribly. Can you come over?" Fearing I would hear, Marcus covered his phone and walked to a corner, whispering something before hanging up. He helped me, carefully walking out the door. His car was parked right outside, but he didn't open the car door. Instead, he waved down a taxi. "Wife, you go to the hospital first. I have an urgent matter, but I'll be right there." I no longer felt sad. When you're utterly disappointed in someone, all that's left is a calm resignation. I nodded obediently and got into the taxi. On the way, I called my lawyer. "Please draft divorce papers for me." I received an 4 drip at the hospital for 4 hours. When I recovered and walked out of the hospital, I saw Marcus rushing over. He was holding a large bouquet of flowers and handed them to me with a loving expression. I looked at the large lilies and couldn't help but frown. I'm allergic to lilies. Marcus didn't ask about my test results. Instead, he hinted, "How exactly did the baby miscarry?" I said coldly, "Do you really want to know?" Marcus nodded. "I'm the baby's father. Of course, I want to know." I said, "I was in difficult labor and urgently needed surgery, but you transferred all the money away to travel with Amber. Ultimately, the baby was stillborn. It's a miracle from heaven that I'm even alive." Marcus looked at me, his face pale. "Really?" I sneered. "Do you think I'd lie to you?" Marcus gritted his teeth. "I transferred that money because we had agreed that I would manage the household finances. I didn't know you'd need so much money to have a baby. Grace, the baby is gone. You're not going to blame me, are you?" I clenched my jaw. "Shouldn't I blame you? You killed our child." Marcus, infuriated, said coldly, "Grace, were you really short a few tens of thousands for surgery? Couldn't you have borrowed from relatives and friends? Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You heard I was traveling with Amber, and you got jealous. So you deliberately self-harmed, deliberately killed our child, wanting me to feel guilty for the rest of my life, right? I looked at Marcus in shock. In my utterly despairing heart, there was only one thought: how did I ever fall in love with such a beast? Seeing me silent, Marcus became even more smug. Was I right? If hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have thought of that. Grace, isn't this your usual tactic? You deliberately jumped into the icy water to save me, making me feel indebted to you and forcing me to marry you. Now you've killed our child, making me feel guilty, wanting me to have no contact with any other women for the rest of my life and only stay with you? Grace, your methods are clever, but your character is despicable. Marcus cursed me furiously, then got straight into his car and drove away. I stood at the hospital entrance, feeling dizzy. I sat by the roadside for a long time, slowly recovering. Just then, I received a text message from Marcus. Wife, I've been reflecting. I think I should apologize to you. I'm sorry. I was just overwhelmed with anger after finding out about the baby, so I spoke nonsense. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to disparage you. I was just worried and spoke out of turn. Looking at the word worried, I found it incredibly grating. Some people speak their true thoughts when they're angry. I believed that Marcus's accusations against me came from the bottom of his heart. I received the divorce papers from my lawyer. As I signed, I realized today was our wedding anniversary. Well, divorcing on this day seemed like a fitting end. I signed my name and took a taxi back home, but as I stepped inside, I froze. The house was adorned with festive decorations, and a bouquet of fiery red roses sat in the center of the living room. Many of Marcus's friends were busily decorating. Someone was hanging a red banner on this special day. May the goddess be happy forever. I paused in surprise. Marcus still remembered our wedding anniversary? Did he still care about me? Just then, Marcus came out holding a beautiful gift box. He smiled broadly and placed the gift box in my hands. My heart softened, and I couldn't help but ask, "Is this a present?" Marcus nodded. Of course. I reached out to open the gift box, but Marcus suddenly grabbed my hand. He said impatiently, even somewhat angrily, "What are you doing?" I was stunned. "What's wrong with me?" Marcus said with disgust. "Don't you know proper etiquette? How can you selfishly open someone else's gift?" I was completely confused. Someone else's gift? Then I noticed two small words written on the gift box: Amber. I smiled sadly. "So, this is a gift for Amber?" Marcus said. "What else? Today is Amber's birthday. Please hold on to this gift box for me and make sure no one touches it." It turned out that Marcus had gone to all this trouble today, decorating the house like a lavishly decorated party venue, just to celebrate Amber's birthday. Aunt's friends were whispering, "What's wrong with Grace? She actually tried to open someone else's gift. She's jealous. Obviously. Maybe she just wants to cause trouble. Honestly, her methods are a bit low, and she's narrow-minded." I don't know if Marcus heard their comments. He walked over and took the gift box from my hands. He shoved the apron at me. "Go to the kitchen and cook. Amber loves your lemon salmon the most. Put your heart into it." I threw the apron back at Marcus. "I'm sorry. I don't want to make lemon salmon, and I'm not interested in Amber's birthday," Marcus said angrily. "Grace, what's wrong with you? You used to be so sensible. And you know, we promised her before we got married that I would celebrate her birthday every year. You're my wife, the mistress of this house. What's wrong with cooking a meal and hosting guests?" I said expressionlessly. "Marcus, let's get a divorce. Amber is more suitable to be the mistress of your house." Marcus immediately panicked. Then, he chuckled. "Grace, are you trying to scare me with divorce? Are you mad because of what I said earlier? I already apologized, didn't I? Can you please stop being so persistent?" I tried to speak again, but Marcus pushed me directly into the kitchen. "All right, stop making a scene. We have guests today. At most, after today, I'll make it up to you properly." The kitchen door closed. Through the door, I heard someone ask Marcus, "Marcus, what's wrong?" "I think I heard Grace say she wants a divorce," Marcus said dismissively. "It's nothing, just a small tantrum. I'll smooth things over later. She loves me so much. She'd never actually divorce me." I gave a bitter laugh, placed the divorce papers on the kitchen counter, opened the kitchen door, and walked straight out. The ridiculous thing was that Marcus and his friends were chatting happily, and he didn't even notice I had left. In his life, I had always been invisible. Amber arrived, and everyone gathered around her like she was the center of attention. When she blew out the candles and made a wish, Amber whispered, "I hope Marcus will stay with me forever." Her voice was soft, but everyone around heard it. The crowd erupted in cheers. Marcus and Amber drew closer and closer in the candlelight. Amber smiled like a blooming flower and picked up a knife to cut the cake. Then she suddenly exclaimed, "Where's Grace?" Marcus said, "Oh, she's in the kitchen making lemon salmon for you. I'll go call her." As walked towards the kitchen, he grumbled unhappily, "It takes this long to make a fish? Still throwing a tantrum? Hiding and refusing to come out? So annoying. She's an adult." He pulled open the kitchen door and saw the kitchen counter was empty. There was no lemon salmon. He immediately flew into a rage. "Grace, where are you?" No one answered him. As he was about to turn and leave, his gaze fell on the thin piece of paper. Marcus picked it up and saw the large words "divorce papers" printed on it. He staggered. His face instantly pale, drained of all color. "Fake. This must be fake. Grace is just trying to scare me." Marcus acted like a madman, clutching the thin paper, repeatedly muttering, "She loves me so much. How could she ever bear to divorce me?" Suddenly, with a bang, the kitchen door behind him opened. Marcus turned around in surprise, but saw Amber. He was instantly disappointed. Amber glanced into the kitchen and exclaimed, "Where's Grace?" Marcus didn't answer. Amber leaned in, looked at the divorce papers, and a flicker of wild joy appeared in her eyes. Then, with a choked voice, she said, "Marcus, it's all my fault. I made Grace angry." Usually, when Amber put on this pitiful act, Marcus would be incredibly sympathetic and comfort her immediately. But today, Marcus's behavior was unusual. He grabbed Amber's shoulders as if clutching a lifeline. "Yes, it's all because of you. That's why Grace is so angry." Amber froze. She instinctively sensed that things were spiraling out of control. Marcus grabbed her wrist and shouted, "Grace misunderstood us. She thinks Amber and I are having an affair, but we actually haven't done anything. I was just fulfilling a past promise, finishing what I told you I would do. The only one I truly love is her." Amber bit her lip hard, almost drawing blood. She whispered, "Marcus, don't be sad. Even if Grace leaves, you still have me." Unfortunately, Marcus seemed not to hear her. He pulled Amber by the arm, desperately heading outside. "We have to find Grace and explain everything to her. She'll forgive me." Amber stumbled, nearly falling. She screamed, "Marcus, let go of me. You're hurting me." But at this moment, Marcus couldn't hear anything from the outside world. His eyes were fixed on the front door, practically dragging Amber along. Amber's screams attracted everyone's attention. Marcus's friends stopped him, anxiously asking what was wrong. Marcus, like a madman, raved, "Grace misunderstood me. Grace wants a divorce. I have to get her back." Marcus's friends exchanged glances and sighed. They said in unison, "Marcus, we told you before. You went too far. Anyone would be upset." "Yeah, don't go looking for Grace. It's pointless. If it comes down to it, just settle for Amber." Marcus suddenly shouted, "Settle? Marriage is for life. Can you just settle?" He dragged Amber straight out the door. Amber sobbed uncontrollably. "Marcus, why are you doing this? Today is my birthday. You're making me look like a fool in front of everyone." Marcus glanced at her and said faintly, "Today is Grace's and my wedding anniversary." Amber froze. Marcus pushed her into the car and got into the driver's seat himself. But after a long silence, Marcus didn't start the car. He suddenly realized he had no idea where I had gone. Marcus never signed the divorce papers, so I filed for divorce. While waiting for the court date, I returned to my hometown, Shoreline. Here I had my old classmates and friends. During a gathering, I met Ethan. Hearing I was going through a divorce, Ethan paused, picked up his glass, and silently drank. Other classmates started teasing, saying Ethan finally had a chance, that it wasn't in vain he'd stayed single and waited for me all these years. I looked at Ethan in surprise. "You've been single all this time?" Ethan nodded silently. After the party, the classmates discreetly left, leaving Ethan to take me home. I suddenly realized he remembered all my habits. His car was stocked with my favorite lemon juice. His sound system played my favorite songs. Even the car's air freshener was my favorite scent. How long had it been since I experienced such care and attention? I couldn't help but ask, "Did you know I was coming back today? Did you know I'd be riding in your car?" Ethan shook his head. He slowly said, I've always surrounded myself with the things you like. Gradually, they became a part of my life too. Tears immediately flowed down my face. Ethan didn't say cheesy words of love, but this warm affection completely enveloped me. Ethan dropped me off at my family's old house. However, as soon as I got out of the car, a dark figure rushed out of the alley. I was startled, then realized it was Marcus. After only a few days apart, Marcus looked much more disheveled. He, who always paid attention to his appearance, now had stubble, and he seemed to have gone without sleep for a long time. His eyes red. Marcus's voice was hoarse. "Grace, I finally found you. I don't agree to the divorce. Come home with me," I said coldly. "Your disagreement is useless. I've already filed a lawsuit," Marcus anxiously argued. "Grace, you misunderstood Amber and me. We're innocent. I haven't done anything." I stared into his eyes and said, "Marcus, you're wrong. You and Amber are not innocent. Even if you didn't cross the final line, your actions have already tainted everything. I know you proposed to me back then for your reputation, for your family's stocks. You were forced into it. Now, you've gotten what you wanted. You can be free." Marcus shook his head vigorously. "I was wrong, Grace. I was truly wrong. It wasn't until you left that I realized I had already fallen in love with you. Come back with me. Didn't we promise each other to have a son and a daughter and grow old together?" He reached out to grab me, but I shook him off. "Marcus, I'm a person, not an object for you to summon and dismiss at will. As for a son and a daughter," I took a deep breath. "Our child was killed by you. You don't deserve to be a father. I will never grow old with you. Give up." Marcus gritted his teeth. "It's okay, Grace. Just come back with me first. We can take it slowly." He pulled me, actually trying to force me into his car. Just then, Ethan stood in front of me. With a gentle push, Marcus stumbled back 5 or 6 steps. Ethan said coldly, "Grace has made it very clear. You should know when to quit." Marcus looked at Ethan, then at me. He pointed at me and said bitterly, "Grace, are you cheating on me?" Facing his accusation, I found him utterly ridiculous. I couldn't even be bothered to argue with him. I coldly retorted, "I have nothing to do with you anymore. Who I like and who I'm with is none of your business." Then, Ethan accompanied me into the old house. Marcus tried to follow, but Ethan's bodyguards turned him away. In the days that followed, Marcus never appeared again. At first, I thought he had given up. Later, I discovered that Ethan had secretly sent bodyguards to protect me. Marcus couldn't get near me at all. A month later, the court date arrived. As I got out of the car at the courthouse entrance, I suddenly heard a hoarse voice, softly calling my name, "Grace." I turned around, immediately startled. Standing behind me was Marcus, but in just 1 month, he seemed to have aged 20 years. White hair had appeared on his head. His body was also much thinner. He looked at me with a pained expression. "Grace, these past few days, I've been sleepless night after night, unable to eat. The thought of living the rest of my life without you suddenly makes living feel like torture. Today I finally see you again. Will you give me another chance?" He fell to his knees in front of me. Marcus's friends were also there. They said in unison, "Grace, that's enough. Marcus knows he was wrong. Marcus has been really miserable these past few days. He's truly been punished. Grace, don't be so heartless. A day as husband and wife means 100 days of kindness." Even some passers-by began to advise me, "That's enough. Husbands and wives fight in bed and make up in bed. You can't just get a divorce so easily. A man's dignity is precious. Can you really bear to make your husband lose face in public? Make up with him quickly." I looked at those people and said coldly, "If you were in my shoes, would you forgive him? If your spouse had an opposite-sex confidant who was prioritized above you in everything, if your spouse spent all the money for your delivery and hospital fees on traveling with that confidant, leading to the death of your unborn child, would you forgive him?" Everyone fell silent. I sneered. It's easy to be generous with someone else's feelings, but sometimes, speaking up for a selfish, cold-hearted scumbag is enabling evil and harming good people. Everyone lowered their heads. Marcus looked at me, his face pale and full of despair. I ignored him and strode into the courthouse. The verdict was as expected. Marcus and I divorced, and because he was the at-fault party, I received the majority of the assets. The moment the judgment became effective, I felt I had gained a new life and freedom. I used that money to reopen my parents' company. Before I married Marcus, My parents had actually left me a company. It was Marcus who convinced me to be a rich housewife and not worry about business, encouraging me to sell the company. Now, I had bought it back, and I wanted to continue the company as a way to commemorate my parents. As I was busy with the company, late one night, I suddenly received a video call on FaceTime from Marcus. He spoke into the camera with a very strange emphasis. "Grace, can you save me again? Just like you did back then." Then I noticed Marcus was driving. His cheeks were flushed, and his words were slurred. He had clearly been drinking a lot. His hands even left the steering wheel as he held his phone, grinning at me. "Grace, I'm about to fall into the water. I know you definitely love me. You'll rush to save me without hesitation. Let's get back together. Let's start over, starting with you saving me." Immediately after, I heard a loud crash. Marcus's car broke through the guardrail and plunged into the river. I shook my head, ended the video call, and dialed 911 call. This time, I wouldn't jump into the icy water to save him. After all, that incident years ago almost cost me my entire life. Soon, the rescue team pulled Marcus out. However, because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, his legs were severely injured, and he was immediately taken to the hospital. Marcus lay in the hospital bed, sending me many text messages, but I didn't reply to a single one. He clutched his phone, desperate and remorseful, furiously banging on the bed frame. Just then, the hospital room door opened. Amber entered. Seeing Marcus, immediately brightened. He smiled. "Amber, you came to see me? I knew you were the best to me." Amber sat down beside him. She didn't ask about Marcus's injuries. Instead, she stammered, "Marcus, could you please delete my contact information?" Marcus froze. He stammered, "Why? Didn't we agree never to delete each other?" Amber said, "But my new boyfriend doesn't like us still being in contact." Marcus, "I'm sorry." Then, she quickly snatched Marcus's phone and skillfully entered the unlock password. Marcus lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, allowing Amber to do as she pleased. 3 minutes later, Amber tossed the phone back to Marcus. "Marcus, I'm leaving now. My boyfriend is taking me to dinner." Without waiting for Marcus to reply, she opened the door and left. Marcus lay in bed and suddenly burst into laughter. As he laughed, tears streamed down his face, and he began to sob. He violently slapped his own face. To lose Grace for a woman like that. "Marcus, you deserve to die." The next day, the doctor informed Marcus about his surgery and urged him to pay the surgery fees immediately. But when Marcus went to pay, he discovered that all the money in his account had been transferred by Amber. Marcus had never been wary of Amber. House keys, phone passwords, bank card pins. Amber knew all of them. He never expected that she would take all his money when she left. Marcus lay on the hospital bed like a dead man, completely despondent. The doctors urged him several times, but he ignored them. He thought about borrowing money, but all his friends made excuses and turned him down. Marcus also remembered me but felt too ashamed to ask me for money. Ultimately, the delay in treating his leg was too long, and he missed the optimal treatment window. To save his life, the doctors amputated his leg. After leaving the hospital, Marcus was never heard from again. 3 months later, Ethan and I went on our honeymoon in the south. In an unfamiliar city, I saw a familiar face. It was Marcus. He was dressed in rags, sitting in a handmade cart. In front of him was a tin cup, with a few pieces of loose change scattered inside. He also wore a QR code for donations around his neck. He had become a beggar. He looked around, humbly begging passers-by for pity. Suddenly, he caught sight of me. His face changed dramatically, and he laboriously pushed himself across the ground with his hands, shakily turning to leave. That was the last time I saw Marcus. 6 months later, I unexpectedly saw Amber on television. She had once again intervened in someone else's marriage, then blackmailed the husband for a large sum of money, threatening to expose everything if he didn't pay. As a result, the man chose mutual destruction and called the police. Amber was sentenced to over 10 years in prison for extortion, given the substantial amount involved. However, I no longer cared about these things. My only concern was the baby Ethan and I were expecting. My due date was approaching, and at every prenatal checkup, the baby was perfectly healthy. I believed that this time, I would give birth to him smoothly. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is roses and love. sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.